The Mutual Network presents The Shadow.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows.
The Shadow, who aids the forces of law and order, is in reality Lamont Cranston, wealthy young man about town who, when years ago in the Orient, learned the hypnotic power to cloud men's minds so that they cannot see him. Cranston's friend, Margot Lane, is the only person who knows to whom the voice of the invisible shadow belongs. The Long Arm of Death. Today's transcribed drama about a woman's tormented conscience and a dead man's revenge will begin in just a minute. But first, there are many things a person can give besides money to help others. He can give his time, services, and experience. And one of the most valuable gifts of all is within the reach of practically everyone, that of blood. The need for blood is immediate and continuing all year round. Accidents, illness, and major catastrophes are happening every minute of each day. A storm could kill and injure hundreds tomorrow. An epidemic can strike thousands any week of the year. And our national accident toll is measured by the minute. It also is vital that we maintain a national reserve of blood derivatives for civil defense. Every 60 seconds, 4 Americans need blood. One of the next 4 could be someone you know, a friend, a relative, a neighbor, or a member of your family. There is only one source of blood. That is from you, the American citizen. Remember, the need for blood goes right on. Call your community blood bank, Red Cross chapter, or hospital blood bank and make an appointment to give blood. This message is brought to you as a public service. And now, The Shadow. It is a cold night in November, and in the Randolph house, lying on the outskirts of the city, even the roaring fire in the great fireplace cannot take the chill out of the air. Grace Randolph, standing near the window, looks out at the bleak landscape. And then, as she hears the sounds of footsteps approaching along the corridor, she turns anxiously toward the door and shudders.
Oh, I thought I'd find you here.
Did you?
I wondered why you disappeared so abruptly from the dining room.
I was fed up.
Really? With me, darling, your ever-loving husband?
Stop it, George. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's your snide, nasty sarcasm. Stop it.
Oh, very well, Grace. You're the boss around here. You've got all the money.
Yes, and I intend to keep it.
Oh, how well I know. Only, just now, darling, I must ask you to part with just a little bit of it.
How little?
I told you the other night I've got to have 10,000.
10,000?
Weren't you listening? Pete Cardoni's getting very impatient. He's given me until tomorrow night to pay it off.
I'm not interested in your gambling debts.
I don't think you understand, my love. If I don't pay off that 10,000 by tomorrow night, the odds are 20 to 1 that my bullet-ridden body will be fished out of some swamp in a week or two.
It couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
You don't care?
Listen, my fine, handsome gigolo. A year ago, I was a lonely, miserable, middle-aged spinster. I was on the verge of a nervous collapse. I had no one to turn to. Then you came along, and you showered me with sympathy and affection. You married me. But all the time, your eyes were on my money.
I was too obvious. What a mistake that was.
Yes, George, it was. Because as soon as I realized what a fraud you were, I swore you'd never get a penny out of me. I hate you, George Randolph. I can't stand the sight of you. You'll get no money out of me as long as I live.
You think not? Wait and see.
I'm not afraid of your threats. I'm not alone any longer. I have friends. Friends who will protect me.
You have friends?
Yes, and I'll prove it to you right now. I never told you about Lamont Cranston, did I? But Mr. Cranston, this is Grace Randolph.
Yes?
You told me to call you if I was ever in trouble. I want you to know...
Give me that phone!
But...
Hello? Hello? This is George Randolph.
What happened to Mrs. Randolph?
Nothing. Nothing's happened to anybody. Yet. But it's going to. If I were you, I'd keep my nose out of this.
Really? What's going to happen?
There's going to be a killing.
What?
That's right. And I'm the one who's going to do it.
Wait a minute. You must be out of your mind. Who do you think you're going to kill?
Myself, Mr. Cranston. Just myself.
Step on it, Lamont. Can't you go any faster?
Not on this hill, Margot. It's a steep climb. We're almost there. That's the Randolph place, perched on the edge of the cliff. It's all lit up.
I hope we're not too late.
To stop Mr. Randolph from killing himself?
Lamont, don't you think he really meant it?
I don't know, Margot. Usually they don't. This man sounded desperate. Desperate enough to do anything.
Still, if a man's going to...
Margot! Look! Up there! It's the top of the cliff!
The top of those lights. They're automobile headlights.
Yes! They're coming closer and closer to the edge of...
The cliff! Lamont, the car, it's going over. It's going to crash down right in front of us.
Hold tight, Margot!
He's in there. Someone's in the car. We've got to...
Wait, Margot. We can't go near it yet. The whole car's in flames. George Randolph, or whoever else was in there, will never come out alive.
I did it, Mr. Cranston. Miss Lane, I killed him.
Please, Mrs. Randolph, you've been crying and tearing yourself to pieces for 3 days. You've got to stop this.
Your husband deliberately drove his car over that cliff. He said he was going to do away with himself, and he did it.
But it was my fault. I drove him to it. I sat right beside him in this living room and refused to give him the money he asked for.
You mustn't feel guilty, Mrs. Randolph.
I feel like a murderer. I had no use for him, but I didn't want him to die over a paltry $10,000.
$10,000's a lot of money.
Not to me. I could have given him that much and never felt it. Now he's dead, mangled and burnt almost beyond recognition. If only I had spoken to him before he died, begged him to forgive me, I could sleep nights instead of having a murder on my conscience for the rest of my life.
You did identify him, though, didn't you?
Yes, it was horrible, but the commissioner insisted on it. There couldn't have been any mistake. The shreds of clothes, the keys in his pockets, the wedding ring I gave him when
We won't bother you anymore, Mrs. Randolph. We understand how you feel. Come along, Margot. I want to ask the housekeeper a question.
Housekeeper?
Yes. I'd like to know why a confirmed pipe smoker like George Randolph had no tobacco in his room. You'd think...
Hello?
Mrs. Randolph?
Yes. Who is this?
I cannot tell you over the telephone, but if you will consent to see me alone, I have a priceless gift to bestow on you.
A gift? What is it?
I cannot tell you, madam. Not now. All I can say is it has something to do with your late husband.
My husband?
Please, not another word. If you're interested, madam, I will come to see you tonight. Do you wish me to?
Yes. Yes, please. I'll be waiting.
It's an unbreakable case of really enjoyable listening when you stay tuned to Mutual's mysteries throughout the week. And there is new and better mystery awaiting your delightful bafflement on Mutual, featuring distinguished Broadway casts and all-star productions. Broadway Cop is the tale of a big city policeman with all the dramatic impact of heartbreak and heroism. John Steele, adventurer, invites you to share an excursion into strange and little-known corners of the world on the trail of mystery. And Sentenced is the unique new series based on the role played in modern crime detection by today's incredible electronic brain. In addition, the time-tested Crime Fighters continues to bring your way the dramatized stories of less well-known agents of law enforcement, from country sheriff to state trooper to laboratory worker. There are your clues. Your solution to a relaxing evening of intriguing mystery is on Mutual. Hear them all throughout the week over most of these stations. And now, back to The Shadow. As Lamont Cranston and Margot Lane look into the death of George Randolph, who has apparently died at his own hands in an automobile crash, a mysterious caller phones Grace Randolph and says he has some secret information for her which he can reveal only in private. Unable to resist, Grace arranges to see him alone. That night in her vast living room, Grace leans forward eagerly and says,
"You said you had a gift to bestow."
A priceless gift, madam.
"What is it, Mr.
Dr. Lowe.
Oh, yes. What is this gift?"
I hesitate to tell you. People find it hard to believe.
"Tell me, please."
I have the power to reach into the grave and recall those who have passed away.
I don't understand.
Your husband died recently, a sudden, violent death.
Yes.
I can bring him back.
What?
I can bring your husband back to life.
Oh, you're a medium. You mean you can bring back his spirit?
No, madam. I can bring him back in the flesh. I can raise him from the dead.
You're mad!
No, madam. I am a scientist, the greatest scientist the world has ever known. While my nearsighted colleagues have been learning how to use the atom for destruction, I have learned how to use it for creation. I can create and recreate life itself.
I don't believe you.
Of course not. I didn't expect you to. But if I should be able to prove what I say...
Prove it? How?
If I bring you face to face with your dead husband, let you talk to him, let you touch his hand...
You can't do it!
I can, madam. Believe me. Everything in the universe is either matter or energy. When we die, the matter and the energy are separated. I can reunite them for short intervals.
Time to talk to George? To beg his forgiveness? Will you do it, Dr. Lowe? Will you do it for me?
That's why I'm here. But there is one condition.
Oh?
I need money for further experiments. That is why I came to you. You are wealthy. I will bring your husband back if you will pay me $5,000.
Yes. I will pay you 10,000. Anything you ask. If you can really do what you say you can.
1,000 now. The balance when your husband appears.
Yes. Any way you want it. If only I can see George once more. Get him to forgive me. Here's your money.
Thank you, madam. You will not be sorry. I will arrange the meeting for tomorrow night at 11.
Where, Dr. Lowe?
At the cemetery. I will bring my equipment early and do what I have to do. By the time you arrive, everything will be ready. You will be there at the crypt?
Yes, I'll be there.
Good. Come alone. And I pray you, don't forget the rest of the money. Good night.
Mrs. Randolph.
Jenny, you startled me.
I am sorry, madame, but that man, I do not like him. He frightens me.
You heard what he said?
No, I heard nothing, but I saw him as he left. He has this terrible look on his face, like he is the devil himself.
That'll do, Jenny. You're my housekeeper. Nothing more.
And the money in his hand. Why did you give him money? What is wrong with you, madame? Please, tell Jenny.
Mind your own business and get back to your housekeeping. Leave me alone, Jenny.
Very well, madame. But, Mrs. Randolph, I am afraid. I am terribly afraid.
So am I, Jenny. So am I.
Cold, Mrs. Randolph?
No, just frightened. The cemetery, the strange shadows. How long do we have to wait outside the crypt?
It is almost time. At exactly 12 o'clock, that door will swing open, and your husband will appear.
I still don't believe it. Midnight.
Be quiet. Do not move.
The door. It's opening.
He will appear in a moment. I will leave you now.
No, don't.
Who's there?
George?
Who is it out there in the darkness? Who wakened me?
George? Is it really you?
Who's out there? Come closer, so I can see you.
George, don't you know me? It's Grace.
Grace! Go back where you came from and leave me alone.
Wait, George, please, I must talk to you.
We have nothing to talk about. You're alive and I'm dead.
Not now. You're alive now. I can see you, hear you. I can touch you, feel your hand, like this.
Don't touch me. I can't stand the touch of your warm, moist fingers. I'm dead. Don't you understand? Dead because of you. You killed me, Grace. You made me take my own life.
No, don't say it.
You killed me. I want you to remember that. Every day you live, I want you to remember that you killed me.
No, George, please. I can't stand it. You've got to forgive me. Say it, please. Say you forgive me so I can sleep in peace.
You'll never have any more peace, Grace, as long as you live. This is my revenge. Goodbye, my love.
Wait. Don't go. Come back. Come back. George, come back.
It is no use, madam. He is gone, for the present. In a moment his molecules will disintegrate into thin air. Until midnight tomorrow, then the cycle will renew itself.
Tomorrow?
Yes. And now please, the money.
Progress in nursing means better health for the nation. Nursing has come a long way since Florence Nightingale nursed the wounded at Crimea 100 years ago. Today our nurses are skilled workers with excellent preparation for their jobs in caring for the sick and in teaching people to stay healthy. There is still a demand for more nurses than we have now. In hospitals and health agencies, both the professional nurse and the practical nurse serve their community. Among the many fields open to the professional nurse are hospital service, private duty, research, and foreign service. The practical nurse is providing more and more nursing care in homes, hospitals, and public health agencies. Nursing means a full life, an interesting life, often a fascinating life. You help others when they need you most. Learn more about this career with a future. Inquire at your nearest hospital or write to Nursing Careers in care of your postmaster. Do it now. That's Nursing Careers in care of your postmaster. This message is brought to you as a public service. And now, back to the shadow. Tormented by guilt feelings over the death of her husband, Grace Randolph has paid a strange scientist thousands of dollars to recreate and reassemble the molecules of the dead man, so she can see him and beg his forgiveness. But the project backfires, for George not only refuses to forgive her, but swears vengeance. As Grace begins to crack under the strain of fear and anxiety, her housekeeper Jenny appeals to Lamont for help. Now, a day later at Grace Randolph's house.
Excuse me, Mrs. Randolph.
Jenny! I told you I didn't want to be interrupted.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Randolph. But these people, Mr. Cranston and Miss Lane, they've come a long way to see you. They're waiting in the foyer.
I don't care how far they've come. They weren't invited. Tell them to go away. I'm busy. Dr. Lowe and I have a very important...
Please, Mrs. Randolph, do not send them away on my account.
If you will only see them, madame, for a moment.
Very well. For one moment. Show them in, Jenny.
Yes, madame.
You're sure it's all right, Dr. Lowe?
Of course. Just say nothing about the matter. If I...
Mr. Cranston, Miss Lane, how nice to see you. Please come in.
Thank you, Mrs. Randolph. Sorry to barge in on you like this.
It's all right. I'm sorry. I'm so busy.
We just wanted to make sure everything was under control.
Of course it is. This is Dr. Alex Lowe, a friend of mine.
Oh? Doctor?
Ph.D., Biochemistry and Physics.
Is that so? I'm always impressed by scientists. Any special field?
Nuclear fission.
My, that sounds important.
It is, Miss Lane. At least my end of it is.
Mr. Cranston, was there anything special you wanted to see me about?
No. We were just passing by.
But Lamont...
No, Margot. Mustn't keep Mrs. Randolph from her business. We'll run along now.
Please, come again, won't you, in a week or so?
Yes, we'll be glad to. Goodbye, Dr. Lowe.
Goodbye, Mr. Cranston.
Oh, Mrs. Randolph, just one question. This picture, the man playing tennis, was that?
Yes, that was George. Why?
Just a thought. Thank you. Goodbye.
He asks many questions, that one. I'm not sure I like that.
Please, Dr. Lowe, I didn't ask you here to talk about Cranston.
Why did you call, Mrs. Randolph? You said it was urgent.
Dr. Lowe, you've got to stop him.
Who?
George, my husband. He's driving me insane. He haunts me day and night.
But you wanted him back. You paid me to recreate him.
And now I want you to destroy him. Destroy him forever.
Destroy him? That is very difficult, madam. There are strong resistances. I'm not sure I can do it.
You must do it. You must. Do you hear? I don't care what it costs. Name your price. $10, $20, $50,000. I'll pay anything. But you must do it.
Very well, madam. Under those terms, I am willing to try. Come to the cemetery tomorrow night, at midnight.
The cemetery? Again? Must I?
Yes, I can do nothing without you. Remember, at midnight. And bring $50,000 with you, in cash. George. Okay, George. It is I. You can come out of the bedroom. I told you, you are perfectly safe here in my house.
With all due respect, Dr. Lowe, I'll decide what's safe and what's not.
Suit yourself. I just saw Grace.
What did she want?
She wants me to destroy you.
Ah, then it has worked.
To the last detail. She's going mad, George. She cannot stand it any longer. She will pay anything to be rid of you.
How much is anything?
$50,000. She's bringing it with her to the cemetery tomorrow night, in cash.
50,000? Good God! I'll take my share and disappear from the face of the earth.
George! The front door. There's someone behind it. You can see.
Oh, you're right, Alex.
Grab her, George.
Let go of me, do you hear? Let go of me!
Well, Jenny, our fine, devoted housekeeper, heard all you wanted to?
Yes, I've heard enough.
How did you get here? How did you know where I lived?
I got in the back of your car while you were talking to Mrs. Randolph.
Very clever.
Clever enough to spoil your plans?
Spoil them? Oh, no, Ginny, never.
No, when I tell Mrs. Randolph and the police.
That's just it, Ginny. You will never tell anyone.
Why not?
Because, my dear, a few hours from now, your poor mangled body will be found lying on the road where some vicious hit-and-run driver ran you down.
No.
I hate this place.
Nobody goes to the morgue for fun.
That poor woman, Lamont, run down by some hit-and-run driver.
Is that what you think it was, Margot? Just an accident?
The commissioner seems to think so, don't you?
I'm not sure. There was one thing I noticed back there in the morgue that I want to check on.
Check on? What was it?
This little scrap of paper stuck to the bottom of Jenny's shoe.
Paper?
Might be part of an envelope or a letterhead. You can just make out a few letters on it.
L-E-X. What do you suppose it stands for? Lexington Silex.
I don't know what it stands for, Margot, but I have a hunch. And if my hunch is right, there'll soon be work for the Shadow.
It is almost time, Mrs. Randolph.
Do I have to be here in the cemetery, Dr. Lowe? Do I?
Yes, you must. In a few seconds it will be midnight, and George will emerge from the crypt, as he has done every night. Only this time, this portable cyclotron will blast him apart, forever. Convert him entirely into energy.
It's horrible. It's like murder.
You forget, dear lady, one cannot murder the dead.
If only.
Now, as he emerges from the crypt. Don't move. Don't stir.
Who is there? Is someone out there in the dark?
Now! This is it! The end of George Randolph! Back into the crypt forever! In time, his body will cease to be radioactive. But now we must get away before we ourselves become contaminated by the poisoned air and dust around us. You have the money?
Yes, here it is.
Hurry!
Here, you'll find it all in this envelope. Take it in. Look! Behind you, the door to the tube. It's opening. He's there. He's still alive. Look!
Impossible. There's no one there. There cannot be. Who's that? Who laughed?
The Shadow.
Shadow? What shadow? I see no one.
Nevertheless, Dr. Lowe, I'm here. Every last atom and molecule of me. Your cyclotron hasn't affected me at all.
You heard everything.
Yes, Dr. Lowe. The Shadow knows all. He knows the low, contemptible scheme you and George Randolph worked out for fleecing this poor woman.
George? Scheme? I don't understand.
Do not listen, Mrs. Randolph. This is some cheap ventriloquist meddling in something he doesn't understand.
No, Dr. Lowe. Not a ventriloquist. The Shadow doesn't play tricks. He is here to see that you and your confederate pay the penalty for extortion and murder.
No, not murder. It was an accident. She ran in front of the car.
You lie, Dr. Lowe. You killed Jenny because she knew too much and unknowingly left your signature on the bottom of her shoe. A scrap of paper with 3 letters of your first name, Alex. And the body that was found in the burning car, you and Randolph killed someone his height.
No, George did it, not I.
You and Randolph killed someone his height and build, dressed him in George's clothes and jewelry, and then started the car over the cliff, figuring he'd be burnt beyond recognition.
All right. We killed them. Killed them both. And we'll kill you too, Shadow, and Mrs. Randolph, anyone who stands in our way. George, come out and help me dispose of these.
No use in calling George, Dr. Lowe. He can't answer you right now. He's lying on the floor of the crypt, unconscious.
It's a lie. I'm going in there. George, where are you? Are you...
Ha 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 ha! You may leave now, Mrs. Randolph. You are safe. Don't try to force your way out of the tomb, Doctor. The police are on their way here now. And when the law is through with you, you and George Randolph will have a place of your own. Every bit as dark and peaceful. The shadow knows. Ha 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 ha!
Poor Mrs. Randolph. I just hope she got home all right. I saw her get into her car and drive off.
We'll drop in on her now and take a look. I'm sure she's all right, now that she knows what was really going on.
Lamont, when you got into Dr. Lowe's place as the Shadow and saw George Randolph there, why couldn't you have notified Commissioner Weston at once?
What the Shadow sees and hears, Margot, is not evidence in a court of law. I had to let them get to the cemetery.
So you could have me lurking nearby to witness everything going on.
And call the police at the right moment.
Lamont, that day when Grace called you and George grabbed the phone and said he was going to kill himself.
Yes?
He already murdered that poor man. In cold blood.
He knew Grace wouldn't give him the money. He only used her to make his suicide threat more convincing.
What I still don't understand is how Commissioner Weston and Mrs. Randolph both identified the corpse in the car as George.
Very simple, Margot. He and the doctor laid their plans very carefully. Picked a stranger George's height and build. If a man says he's going to kill himself, then drives over a cliff in his own car, has all the proper identification, and is identified by his own wife, what reason is there for the police to be suspicious?
I suppose you're right. Still, you did suddenly suspect that George Randolph was alive.
Yes, but I dismissed the idea at first. You see, the teeth of the corpse found in the car were obviously those of a pipe smoker, but there was no sign of tobacco in George's room. I figured he'd given it up.
And then?
The picture of George Randolph playing tennis, the one we saw after Jenny asked us to drop in.
What about it?
He was serving right-handed, Margot, yet the corpse was obviously left-handed.
How could you tell that?
The development of muscle in the fingers, wrist, and forearm. Medical examiner commented on it.
So Dr. Lowe and Randolph went to all that trouble, murdered 2 people, and still overlooked the simplest clue.
Yes, Margot. Like so many other criminals, they forgot that dead men do tell tales.
Although the enjoyment of good mysteries has been a national habit for years, tastes in whodunit fare have changed. Today's listeners demand and get tales of suspense that can take their place with the best of top dramatic programs. Revealing characterizations, believable plots, and realistic background make Mutual's mysteries absorbing entertainment. Every week, Top Secret Files brings Colonel X with hitherto revealed facts of government intrigue. Treasury Agent dramatizes the work of United States T-men at home and in foreign lands. Squad Room opens the door to Police Precinct Headquarters for a revealing glimpse of the law at work. Official Detective presents Lieutenant Dan Britt on the trail of a criminal, and Counter Spy is the exciting story of David Harding, ace government agent. for hours of relaxing entertainment with the best in challenging mystery. Stay tuned and hear them all on Mutual every week over most of these stations. This transcribed story is copyrighted by Street and Smith Publications Incorporated, publishers of Air Trails Hobbies for Young Men, on sale now. All names and places in today's story are fictitious. Any similarity to persons living or dead is purely coincidental. Listen again next week, same time, same station, when the shadow will demonstrate that
The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. The shadow knows.
The Shadow is brought to you every Sunday by the Mutual Network. Lamont Cranston is played by Clay Nielsen. Margot by Stephanie Bucci. The script was written by Judith and David Bublick, and the entire production is under the direction of Clay Nielsen. This is David Bucci inviting you to tune in again next week, same time, same station, for the next exciting adventure of The Shadow.